They were sent here to die. Earth just forgot to tell them. The last supply ship lifted off from Charon -7, its engines leaving a trail of rust-colored dust. 16 years earlier, 80,000 prisoners had been marched onto this barren rock in shackles. Now, a bureaucratic purge on Earth deleted Charon -7 from every active registry. The prisoners waited. Days turned to weeks. No ship returned. Marcus Drake pushed through the panicked crowd, his voice cutting like a blade.
Listen to me. We are forgotten. No one is coming.
The shouting died. He had been a colonel once, and men still responded to that tone.
We ration what we have. We work, we build, or we die.
By nightfall, the first work crews were formed. The long crawl from the grave had begun, 1 year under Charon's cold orange sun. The prisoners tore into the hills with tools forged from scrap. Makeshift foundries coughed sparks. Water pump jacks groaned from salvaged plumbing. Defiance took the shape of industry. Beneath the surface, hydroponic towers bathed in artificial light pushed green shoots through recycled pipes. The first harvest was a prayer answered.
We elect a council, 5 seats. Every cell block sends a representative. No gangs, no strongmen.
The vote was crude but honest. Marcus stood at the head of the table by unanimous, desperate consent, but the yield projections were wrong. Rations were cut again. A low, hungry murmur spread through the blocks.
They're scared. Scared. People do stupid things. I have to be ready.
At the main distribution point, the crowd condensed. A rock shattered the quartermaster's window. The riot found its spark.
Contain it. Now, use whatever force is necessary. I will not let us starve because of a mob.
The enforcers waded in with shock batons. When silence fell, 3 bodies lay still. Order had a price, and the colony paid it. 2 decades of relentless industry transformed Charon -7. Orbital forges and dry docks now ringed the planet, built from cannibalized prison ships. The first generation born here never saw Earth. To them, the orange sky was the only sky.
A ship. Our own ship. It changes everything.
The prototype engine roared to life. A pillar of blue flame shook the hangar, and with it, the silence of decades. Cheers erupted. It was the sound of a species refusing to be buried. Months later, the frigate stood on the launch pad, a rough beast of patchwork armor and raw determination. They named it the Asp. The entire colony gathered. Elders who remembered Earth beside children who had only heard stories.
This ship carries our hope. Not to return to Earth, but to prove we are still human.
The Asp lifted into the orange sky, a fiery claw reaching for the stars. Earth had forgotten them, but they had not forgotten how to reach upward. By 2391, Charon's fleet patrolled beyond its home system. A Vorth scout ship found them first. The aliens saw a fragile outpost. Their empire had swallowed weaker civilizations before. The Vorth ultimatum crackled through Charon's comms. Surrender your colony, and your people will serve. Resist, and we will burn your world to glass.
We did not build this colony from scrap and silence to kneel before the first threat that finds us. We fight.
The council vote was immediate and unanimous. There would be no surrender. Within hours, the Vorth launched a probing attack. 2 Charon frigates met them in the black. The Vorth cruiser outmassed them 10-1. Its energy lances tore through one frigate's hull like paper. But the second frigate, the Asp, slipped inside the cruiser's firing arc and detonated its payload against the hull. The Vorth ship limped away.
A bloody nose for the enemy. But they'll be back in force. We need more than courage now.
Charon was at war. The Vorth Empire had been challenged, and thousands of ships now turned toward the forgotten colony. The Vorth Armada descended on Charon -7 like a swarm. Orbital cannons pounded the surface, turning cities into craters. From bunkers and trenches, the colonists fought back with everything. Mining charges, improvised railguns, and pure spite. Marcus Drake, now in his 70s, led from the front, his voice cut through the din of battle.
Hold the line. Every inch you give them is an inch of our children's graves.
He charged. A white-haired old man with a coil gun running straight at the Vorth infantry line.
If I go down, they'll fight twice as hard. Make it count.
A plasma bolt took him in the chest. He fell without a sound, but his death did not break the line. It forged it into something unbreakable. The Charon fleet, battered but relentless, punched through the Vorth formation. The invaders, shocked by the ferocity, began to retreat. They buried Marcus Drake on the hillside overlooking the colony he built. The war was far from over, but Charon had drawn first blood. In the weeks after the funeral, Patricia Walsh assumed command. She had been forged in war.
Defending our homes isn't enough. The Vorth will return unless we break them completely.
She ordered the fleet to counterattack. Not raids, but a full-scale invasion of Vorth space.
We will capture their shipyards, use their own ships against them. We take the fight to their homeworld.
The Charon fleet struck fast. Vorth outposts fell in a string of brutal battles. Shipyard after shipyard fell. Charon's fleet swelled with captured hulls and new crews. The Vorth homeworld lay ahead. Patricia gave the order for final assault. Bombardment cracked the capital's shields. With the palace burning, the Vorth surrendered. The Vorth emperor offered his scepter. Patricia took it as a symbol of Charon's first empire.
We were prisoners. Now we're conquerors. Grandfather would have hated what we've become.
2 years of uneasy peace ended without warning. Krenthek's battle cruisers ambushed a Charon convoy. The Krenthek's warlord's hologram filled every screen. Your conquest of the Vorth has been noted. You will serve us, or be erased. Simultaneously, drop pods slammed into 3 new colonies. Cities burned, civilians were slaughtered.
This isn't a raid, it's extermination. They want our systems for something else. They offered annihilation. They're clearing the path.
Intelligence confirmed her fear. The Krentheks believed Charon was a stepping stone to Earth.
Earth. They think we'll lead them to Earth? We don't even know where it is, but they'll get a fight.
Charon's outer colonies were overrun. Defenders fought hard, but were outmatched. The Krentheks war machine was relentless.
They're forcing us back. If we can't stop them, everything dies.
The Council declared total war. Every ship, every soldier. The Krentheks had awakened a hornet's nest. Patricia studied the Krentheks fleet data. She saw only one path, a decapitation strike.
We board their flagship. If we capture it, we get their entire strategic database.
The operation was suicidal. A skeleton crew on a captured freighter drifted close, then breached the dreadnought's hull. Marines in EVA suits flooded the corridors. After 20 minutes of vicious close-quarters combat, the bridge was theirs.
Now we know their homeworld's defenses. It's heavily fortified, but there's a gap. A 6-hour window during a sensor realignment. We send the entire fleet, all of it. If we hit them hard and fast, we can cripple their command before they regroup.
The Council erupted. We'll lose everything, an officer shouted. That's our entire civilization on one roll of the dice.
If we do nothing, we lose everything anyway. I am not asking for your permission. I am telling you the plan. If I am wrong, I'll be the monster who ended Charon. But the alternative is extinction.
The Charon fleet, every vessel that could fly, entered jump formation. Operation Homewrecker was launched. The Charon fleet dropped out of jump directly behind the Krentheks armada, exploiting the sensor gap. Guns blazed. The surprise was total. Krentheks ships exploded before their shields could even raise. Within an hour, the orbital defense grid was shattered. The capital lay exposed.
Target military infrastructure only. I want the regime broken, not the people annihilated.
But even precision strikes brought fire and death. The capital burned as dawn broke. A white flag rose over the palace. The Krentheks emperor knelt before Patricia Walsh.
2 empires fallen at our feet. Grandfather fought for survival. We fight for dominion.
She accepted the scepter without a word. Her face was stone. Charon now controlled 200 worlds. the largest empire in the sector. Patricia returned to her quarters and stared at the wall. The cost was becoming harder to bear. Before Patricia could grieve, the Thermaeans struck. Their fleet dwarfed anything Sharon had faced.
Not again. I don't want this, but if we don't fight, they'll slaughter us all.
She ordered the fleet to intercept. There was no time for grief, only action.
We hit them before they consolidate. Shock and speed. I want their command shattered in the first week.
The Charon fleet executed a lightning campaign. Within months, Thermaean shipyards fell in rapid succession. The Therman capital, ancient and proud, capitulated after a brief but brutal siege. Their emperor offered the final scepter. Patricia took it, her face a mask of exhaustion. In a grand ceremony, she was crowned Empress of the Charon sector, 3 scepters behind her throne.
400 worlds, 3 empires, and all I feel is the weight of the dead.
Charon had become a superpower, entirely unknown to Earth. The silence from home remained absolute. In the peaceful years that followed, Patricia ordered a new flagship, not for war, but for remembrance.
A ship, not for conquest, but to remind us what we were.
In the orbital yards, the sentence took shape, a beast of patchwork steel and prison-born ingenuity. The 3 alien scepters were mounted along the hull, trophies of survival against the void. At the commissioning ceremony, Patricia stood before the Empire to speak.
We were prisoners. We built an empire. We will never forget Earth, but we will never beg for its notice.
The crowd roared approval, but behind her eyes, a private war still raged.
Grandfather, did you ever dream we'd come this far? What would Earth think of us now?
Countless nights she studied the old records, maps of Earth, the home she had never seen. The sentence stood as a monument to defiance, but the silence from Earth was a wound that never closed. In a dusty audit office on Earth, a routine data sweep tripped over a file marked Charon -7 Penal Colony lost. Screens flickered. Officials unlocked layers of buried history. The oversight stretched back to 2347. The Auditor General's hands trembled as he read the final status. Administrative purge. Active registry deleted. Colony forgotten. Ambassador Thomas Chen was pulled from a trade negotiation. The briefing was blunt. A lost colony, 80,000 souls. No contact in 60 years.
60 years? How does a colony just vanish from every registry?
A diplomatic cruiser was hastily prepared. Chen and a small delegation were dispatched to the Charon system, expecting ruins.
What will we even find? Wreckage? A ghost world? How do we explain this to the public?
Back on Earth, news networks caught wind of the scandal. A forgotten prison colony became a global headline.
60 years with no supply runs. They were left to die, and no one noticed.
The file was flagged crimson across every agency, but thousands of light years away. Charon -7 had not died. It had been building. Chen's ship dropped out of warp at the edge of the Charon system. Instantly, alarms screamed. Dozens of warships, massive, patchwork, bristling with weapons, surrounded the diplomatic cruiser. From the viewport, Chen saw a fleet that stretched into the darkness, ships of every size and shape, all bearing the same rough-hewn signature. A terse voice crackled over the comms. "Earth vessel, you are in Charon Imperial space. Heave to and prepare for escort." The shuttle was flanked by angular fighters, their hulls bearing the scars of countless battles. The sentence loomed ahead, a 5-kilometer monstrosity of industrial steel, with 3 alien scepters mounted like trophies along its spine. The shuttle docked with a heavy clang. When the airlock opened, Chen stepped into a hangar lined with a silent honor guard. Humans, Vorth, Krenthex, Therman, standing shoulder to shoulder.
This is not a lost colony. This is an empire.
He was led through corridors of patchwork metal and improvised engineering, every surface telling a story of survival. The bridge doors opened. 3 vast screens dominated the far wall, each displaying a burning alien capital. At the center, a woman in a simple uniform turned to face him. Patricia regarded him with the same calm she'd worn in 100 command briefings.
We were sent here to die, Earth forgot to tell us. We built an empire instead. 400 worlds. 3 conquered enemies. All in Earth's name. We want to come home. The Charon Senate voted unanimously. Earth citizenship for all.
Chen stood frozen. He had expected ruins, not a superpower asking to be readmitted.
If I refuse, we have a new enemy. If I accept, Earth gains a ready-made empire and a moral reckoning. Empress Walsh, I must transmit this to Earth. The decision isn't mine.
I know. We've waited 60 years. We can wait a bit longer. But this is an offer, not a request.
Chen nodded. An encrypted message shot toward Earth. Charon -7 alive. Empire of 400 worlds. Seeking citizenship, the bridge fell silent. Patricia stared at the burning capitals, and for the first time, something like hope flickered in her eyes. Earth's reply cut through the void, a formal offer of annexation and full citizenship, conditioned on a sector-wide referendum.
The Terran Assembly has recognized the Charon sector. A referendum will decide if you wish to join. The choice is yours.
The question rippled across 400 worlds. Independence, or return to the home that had cast them out 60 years ago. Polls opened under alien suns. Humans in Vorth, Krenthex, and Thurman, Creech Krenthex and Thurman, queued together for the first time. The vote was silent, the quietest revolution in human history. On the final day, every screen in the sector displayed the tally. 98% in favor. The roar was heard from orbit.
They chose Earth. After all the blood, all the silence, they still chose Earth.
In a simple ceremony on the Sentence's bridge, Chen and Patricia signed the Charter of Reunification.
Welcome home, Charon. It took too long, but you are home. But you are home.
The bureaucratic accident that had stranded them now became the greatest expansion in Earth's history. With the charter signed, Patricia Walsh quietly stepped down as Empress. The Empire no longer needed a conqueror. She returned to Charon -7, to the hillside where her grandfather was buried. The air smelled of industry and wildflowers.
We built an empire from a grave. You'd be proud, grandfather. Terrified, but proud.
In the quiet of her childhood home, she began to write a memoir, a testament.
Forgotten, not defeated. That's the title. Because they didn't break us. Not the exile, not the wars, not the silence.
She wrote of the first ships, of the hunger, of the dead. She wrote of the 3 scepters, and of the long wait for a signal that never came.
We were sent here to die. We built something instead. And in the end, we found our way home.
The final page turned. The ink dried. Outside the window, a new generation looked up at the stars, not as prisoners, but as citizens. The book was published quietly, but its echo was felt across the sector. A reminder that even the forgotten can leave a mark. And on Charon 7 beneath the orange sky, Patricia Walsh closed her eyes and rested. The war was over. Years later, a child on Earth opened a book titled Forgotten, Not Defeated, and read the first line. They were sent here to die. Earth just forgot to tell them. That same line, flung across the decades, now sat in libraries from Terra to the Charon frontier. On Charon -7, an old woman walked the hillside one final time.
We built it. We really built it. And now, they'll never forget.
She stood before the grave of Marcus Drake, the scepter of the Fourth Empire, now a simple garden marker beside it.
We made it home. It wasn't the home we set out from, but it's ours, and it's human.
For a moment, the wind carried the ghost of a voice, gruff, familiar, and it said, "You did good, kid." She smiled, the weight of 60 years lifting just enough. The book on the shelf, the Empire in the stars. Charon -7 was no longer a footnote. It was a foundation, and somewhere in the administrative depths of Earth, a file was finally updated with a single line. Charon -7. Status, active, proud, home. The Terran Assembly convened in a rare joint session, the chamber humming with anticipation.
Today, we formally recognize the Charon sector. They were lost, abandoned, and they built an empire in our name.
A hush fell as 3 alien dignitaries, Vorth, Krenthex, Thermain, approached the stage carrying their respective scepters. They placed the scepters in a ceremonial cradle before the speaker, symbols of conquest, now offered as gifts of unity. A live feed connected to Chera -7. Patricia Walsh, silver-haired and seated in a wheelchair, appeared on the main screen.
We never gave up. We just built. Thank you, Earth, for finally looking our way.
The assembly rose in a standing ovation that lasted 10 minutes. There wasn't a dry eye in the hall. Days later, the memoir, Forgotten, Not Defeated, was entered into the official Earth record. A copy was placed in every school, and on Charon -7, a statue was erected, not of a warlord, but of Marcus Drake, holding a coil gun and a trowel. The plaque read, "Here they were sent to die, here they learned to live, and from here they conquered the stars." Years passed, and the warship's sentence was decommissioned and turned into a floating museum, the 3 scepters still gleaming on its hull. A child on a school trip reached up to touch the Vorth scepter, her fingers brushing the cold metal with reverent awe. A guide explained that these trophies were taken in war, but kept here in peace, a promise that the killing was over. In classrooms across 1,000 worlds, students opened Forgotten, Not Defeated for their history exams. The story now essential, the final chapter, titled Homecoming, ended with Patricia's own words. "We built something instead, and in the end, we found our way home. On the former Krenthex homeworld, humans and aliens worked side by side, building ships that flew the Terran Eagle. Charon -7 was no longer a prison world's designation, but a badge of honor worn by its descendants, a testament to survival." At the memorial on Charon -7, a group of schoolchildren, human, Vorth, Krenthex, Thermain, laid flowers at the statue of Marcus Drake. One child, her features a blend of human and Vorth, knelt and pressed a single white bloom into the soil. And overhead, the stars that once held only exile now shone on a united people who had turned a prison into a home. Generations later, a young girl on Earth read the opening line of Forgotten, Not Defeated, and traced the words with her finger. They were sent here to die. Earth just forgot to tell them. She looked up at her father, puzzled. "Did they really forget them?" she asked. Her father smiled and pointed to the star map on the wall. "It's strange," he said. "The biggest empire we ever built started with the worst mistake we ever made. But they never gave up." The book on the shelf had become a cornerstone of history, a signed reading from the Charon frontier to the cities of old Earth. Students learned that the penal colony Charon -7 had been deleted by a clerical error, and how that deletion birthed an empire. The memorial hill on Charon -7 had grown into a park, where children of every species played under the orange sky. A small plaque at the base of the statue had been added, quoting Patricia Walsh's final written words. "And in the end, we found our way home." High above, the Sentence Museum orbited silently, its 3 scepters still catching starlight, a reminder that the forgotten could never be erased. And in every classroom, across 1,000 worlds, the first chapter always began the same way. They were sent here to die. Earth just forgot to tell them. On Charon -7, the orange sky deepened into twilight, and the statue of Marcus Drake stood silent vigil over a world that had outgrown its exile. The wildflowers Patricia had planted decades ago still bloomed at the base. Their colors soft in the fading light, a maintenance drone hovered briefly, polishing the plaque that read, "Forgotten, Not Defeated." High in orbit, the Sentence Museum drifted, its lights dimmed for the night cycle. The 3 scepters caught the last rays of the setting star. A young couple on a date inside the museum paused by the Krenthex scepter, reading the inscription, "Even the forgotten can leave a mark." Back on the surface, the wind stirred the grass around the statue, a soft murmur that had carried the same words for centuries. And the story repeated, not just in books, but in the grain of the metal, the roots of the flowers, the memory of a people who refused to vanish. They were sent here to die, They built an empire instead, and they never stopped reaching for home. Forgotten, not defeated, Charon -7 remains a testament to what humanity can endure. Thank you for watching. And so the story of Charon -7 passes into legend, a reminder that even a forgotten colony can reshape the galaxy. The statue of Marcus Drake still stands, not as a relic of war, but as a symbol of the human will to endure and build. The sentence drifts in orbit, its scepters a quiet testament to the cost of survival and the value of forgiveness. In classrooms across 1,000 worlds, the next generation learns that greatness can rise from the most unlikely places. And the book, Forgotten, Not Defeated, remains on every shelf, a testament to the idea that being abandoned is not the same as being beaten. From a prison rock to an interstellar empire, Charon -7 proved that even when Earth forgets, the human spirit remembers how to reach for the stars. If this story moved you, please like and subscribe for more tales of humanity's resilience among the stars. And remember, even when forgotten, never defeated. Thanks for watching. See you in the next story.